Internet! Welcome to 2.5 Brains. This is the Amazing Race Season 33 finale show. We're going to talk all about what happened on the finale, break it all down from every angle, and give you our thoughts. Exactly, break it down. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. You can like our Facebook page as well, facebook.com/pavementroadprod. Pavement Road Productions on Facebook, Pavement Road Prod. You also can email the show directly, pavementroadproductions@gmail.com. Share the post, tell your friends. We also had our Survivor Season 42 preview show out. I picked my winner. We're going to talk all about that on that show, so definitely check that one out as well. There's about an hour, so if you have an hour, just check that one out. And obviously, we got this final episode here, the Post-Mortem, if you will, on this season of The Amazing Race, Season 33. The COVID-shortened, COVID-messed-up season that had a crazy ending, a very, very close and very, very exciting ending. We're going to talk all about it here. But before we do that, let's go ahead and bring in the co-host of the show here on The Amazing Race, Jessica. We've had some shuffling around with some shows, but Jessica's here, ready to go. Jessica, welcome. How you doing?
I'm playing peekaboo with the cat. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm not doing that, but I'm not doing that good. But I wish I was.
I mean, not really, but it's funny.
How you doing?
I am well. How are you? Hello.
Good. I'm glad you're doing well.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say, or we're going to just dive in?
I win.
Yeah?
I win. Yes, I win.
Do you want to talk about how that finale went before we get into anything else? Like how we reacted and everything?
Oh, I cried.
Yeah.
I was excited. I cried. I jumped. I drank.
Yeah. We
cheered.
We cheered. Yeah, it was a good time.
Yes, it was.
I haven't been that excited in a long time watching a TV show. So it was really, really awesome. I'm really pumped.
Yeah.
I was really
think
happy.
I've been that excited ever watching a TV show.
Yeah, I mean,
that point.
I mean, obviously, sports, whatever, but not TV, right? I mean,
yes, sports are a little different.
Yeah,
there's
I mean,
lots of emotion with sports.
Right, and I mean, like I said, it relates back to when I was rooting for there's certain players I was rooting for. I was rooting for Sarah when she won Survivor. I was rooting for, when Jeremy won his season, I was pumped. Mike Holloway winning all those immunities, I was fired up for that one. And all those things. But I really can't tell you last time I was excited for a finale. And like I said I'd be really happy if Ryan Dusty won. I'd be ecstatic if the Holderness won. And obviously we got what we wanted. It was pretty epic. And not only that, but it was, three likable teams, but it was as close could be. I mean, it was probably within minutes. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't tell with the edit and everything like that, but they got their second. Each team went back and forth with answers, and they ended up pulling it out just in time. And of course, it was at the last challenge was at the finish line. So you basically just ran through a tunnel and you were there.
Right.
So we'll talk all about it here, but what an awesome, epic ending to it. Yeah. Really, really fun.
I needed a win. Yeah. I never win. I won. Yes. And they were the oldest team to ever win.
Yeah,
so
fantastic.
Congrats to them.
Fantastic. Mm-hmm. Great. And I said it was a weird season. There's a lot of weird, crazy stuff that happened, but you know what doesn't matter. $1 million spends like $1 million.
Yeah.
So who cares? And what a great cast, a really, really good cast. There's really nobody on this season I was like, I didn't like. There's some I like more than others, but there's nobody there I'm like, ooh, I don't like them.
Right.
Right.
No, and I disliked and rooted against.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, let's go ahead and just dive in then with the actual episode itself. They started in the same spot they were for the most part, and then they kind of just moved on from there.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so let's go ahead and I didn't write that down, but let's go ahead and start with we can start with the roadblock, I guess, right?
Yes, roadblock number 1, the explorers. So they got to the marina. There were a bunch of rowboats with different names on it. Some were Portuguese celebrities, and some were Portuguese explorers. Of course, there was no help to know who was who. It was just a name on a boat. They each had to pick one, row to another destination, which was kind of just down the stream a little bit. And there was a person on the dock, and they determined if you were right. They told you if you were right or wrong, and gave you your clue.
If you were wrong, you had to roll all the way back.
Yeah, roll all the way back, get a new one, get a different boat. I was really hoping someone would pick Cristiano Ronaldo just because, to show if they're oblivious to who people are.
Yeah,
but
everybody knew who that one was at least.
Yeah, everybody at least knew that person. So 2 teams got it wrong and had to do it again. It was Ryan. Mm-hmm. And then Arun also. Arun could barely get there, though. he started probably, what was it, third?
I think so.
Yeah, they got their third, but Ryan got to the dock first and was told they were wrong and went back and got another one again and got back there before Arun really got to the first one and then went back and got a new one. So Arun never made it. Actually, this is the thing. Arun never made it there knowing it was the wrong boat.
Right, he
turned around, and it took him forever to even turn around because he couldn't even get out of the area, and he got a new boat and then went down there and was fine.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Very good. Very good analysis, Jessica.
Thank you. A good explanation.
Yes. Very good.
Stamp of approval.
Excellent. Yep. So they pretty much got there in the order which they ended the previous leg, right?
Yeah.
So then they left though with Ryan jumping Arun.
Yes.
Yep. So what was next?
Next was paint a door.
Yeah.
So I think it was outside a restaurant, and there was a basket on a table with different cans of sardines. My initial thought was they would have to eat them, but that some people don't mind that taste, so I'm not surprised. So basically, each sardine can had an elaborate painting on it. You had to pick which design you liked, go find the doors in a alley, if you will, and paint the painting that's on the sardine can. But it wasn't actually painting from scratch. There was lines basically they had to fill in and match it completely with the sardine can. But the attention to detail was very high on this one, and some people did not get that in the beginning. Like Holderness struggled a little bit.
Yep. Coloring in the circles were the right color and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's just the little things because they messed up. They had everything done except they forgot to put lines of black inside of their lettering. So that's all that was off. Ryan and Dusty, however, I hate to fault them for it because I think I would have done it too. They didn't paint the door handle that was in the middle of the painting of the door, but I guess I would have assumed too, or would have thought, I don't have to paint the door handle, but that's not true. So they were there for a while.
They asked like 12 times or more.
Yeah, Arun and Natalia almost passed them, but they were still the last one. Ryan and Dusty managed to finish and left before them.
Yep. Cool. What's next?
Paint a door. I just read that, didn't I?
You did.
Count the pillars. So with the painting one too, I wanted to mention the flight attendants left first, and then Holderness left second, but the flight attendants lost their map and had to hunt someone down and get directions to find where they needed to go, which gave the opportunity for Holderness to get there first. However, Penn had a difficult time with this next challenge, which was count the pillars. Was it a church or something? It was a big courtyard. And they had to count all these pillars from one end. They couldn't leave a box. They had to stay right in that box and count all the way down to the end, which was really impossible to see. So they got there first. He guessed a bunch of times before the flight attendants got there, and then Kayla did it, and she actually got it on her first try, and they managed to leave before Penn was able to get the right number. He did end up getting the right number before the next team showed up, which was 106. And the next teams were Ryan and Dusty, and then Dusty had to do this one because the other, right? Is that how it worked?
Yep,
with
each
this
person
one?
had,
because the explorers and the count the pillars, Natalia had to do this one.
Yep.
Yes.
The
Everyone got it right except for Holderness on the first try. Or no, Ryan took twice.
Yeah.
But most of them got it right like the first try.
Yeah, and obviously we don't know with the ruin because they didn't show, or with Natalie, they didn't show all that.
They didn't show it, yes, because it was probably a little later than some of the rest.
Correct. So what was the placement order?
What's that?
What was the placement order for this one?
It was flight attendants first, Holderness second, Ryan and Dusty third, and our final team, Arun and Natalia, who... I'll wait.
You good?
Who lost?
Yes, finally. They got eliminated once. They came back. They got two times they were not eliminated, and then this time they were finally eliminated. Team Detroit.
Well, yeah, they got eliminated once too, right?
So I mean, so they got eliminated. They came back.
Yeah.
Then they were not eliminated twice, and then they got eliminated finally again.
And about time they finally got knocked out. I was never rooting against them, but they were gonna get knocked out at some point.
Yeah, they were not the top three teams for sure, but
correct.
So that was how it ended. Runa and Natalia got knocked out. Why did they finally lose, Jessica?
Their strengths, I guess. I mean, surprisingly, Arun struggled so hard with that rowboat, and I mean, Kim was able to do it. I mean, she struggled a little bit, but I mean, she was able to get there. Attention to detail was a big thing for them too. Obviously, he picked the wrong boat to begin with, and he knew it, and he went back and got the right one. I mean, the painting part, but I mean, overall, attention to detail, bad sense of direction, not taking their time with things, and they just got real lucky with a lot of things.
That's what I would say. I would say they really impressed me how much they were able to stay in it, being that they were so overmatched. They were maybe, I would say they were maybe the 7th or 8th best team in the race, and they just kept surviving, and somehow not getting eliminated, and then surviving, and then it would be not elimination, and then the next leg would be elimination. They'd jump one spot and they'd survive, and then they would be last again and not elimination. They'd jump another spot or two and survive. So just they were probably said. I mean, going into the race, they were maybe the 8th or 9th best team. Obviously, 4 teams couldn't come back, so that increased their odds a little bit there. But they were completely overmatched the whole race. I felt like. I mean, they just really. I mean, they just really didn't. They knew the show well. That was maybe their biggest strength. Other being super fans knowing the show well. You have to physically be able to do some of the challenges, and they were just. They were completely outclassed.
I mean, for some of it though, would you say that Ryan and Dusty struggled, or that they did better than them? Because for a while, they were just above Ryan and Dusty, and they overtook them for some things. What is your view on that?
I mean, who's better?
In those instances, do you think just Ryan and Dusty were really struggling, or do you think that Arun and Natalia were doing that much better than them?
I would say... So I'll talk about Ryan and Dusty here a little bit later, but I don't want to go into too much of that, but I would say...
I just mean while they were there.
No, I would say that...
While they were competing against each other.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you. I would say Natalia and Arun were consistent. They weren't necessarily great, but they were... Like Tony Robbins says, I can hit a golf ball. I should be able to hit it as consistently shitty as I should be able to hit it. Right? If I hit it terribly or hit it I shouldn't have huge spikes. Right? If I'm terrible, I'm terrible. I should just be consistently terrible.
Right.
Right? And I think it's kind of... Not that they were terrible, but they were consistently... They hit the level. They hit the highest level they're going to hit, and sometimes they're better than other teams. They were, but most of the time they weren't. So I'd say I wouldn't say they really had huge jumps or huge valleys. They were very consistent. They just weren't that good.
Some of it was hard to judge because it was finding a coin under a rock, which that's just kind of luck. It's not even a skill. It's just if you're in the right place, checking the right rock at the right time,
staying focused and all that.
Yeah, and not giving up, having a good pace, and then. The whole eat the survaki, find your clue.
Yeah.
But yeah, just curious.
Yeah, no, I say they were outmatched, but I said there were some times where other teams struggled, and they were. One thing about them, they were consistent. They knew the show. Mm-hmm. They didn't fight. They were not a lot of fights really all this season, which was great.
No, there was some slight bickering sometimes, but it wasn't any blowouts.
No, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. So I think that's why Runa and Natalia lost. They just weren't. They said they were consistent, but they just weren't a high enough level team. That's I said if they would have somehow gotten the final 3, I would have been really, really surprised. If they would have won, I would have lost it.
Yeah, well, Arun and Natalia, congratulations for making it farther than the Detroit Lions. So
they won a couple. They didn't lose. They didn't win a leg, but they didn't lose all their legs either. So I guess that's good.
They won more than. They were in a better spot than the Lions.
Correct.
Were all season.
Let's put it that way. They had a shot to actually do something.
Correct.
Yeah. So good for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Better than Detroit sports.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, moving on to now the second half of the season finale, which was the 11th episode or whatever.
This would be the 12th, I think.
Yeah. Either way, doesn't matter.
Or 13th, something like that.
It wasn't 13. It was either 12 or 11. Either way.
I'm sure it's 12. But anyways, 11. Yeah.
So what happened there?
Doesn't matter.
They got
so they all hopped on a plane, a private jet
charter,
with the rest of the Amazing Race crew, and we're told I forgot what they handed them. Oh, they said that their clue was in the back of the seat in front of them.
Yeah.
Just kidding. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, Phil's a joker.
I know. I like Phil.
Phil's best.
They hopped on a charter and went to Los Angeles.
We did a by the way, as a quick side note, we did a quick straw poll between Jessica and myself between who's better, Phil or Jeff.
a straw poll. I guess I just sat there and said, I like Phil better than Jeff. And you're like, well, that's
obvious.
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Was that calling the kettle black? Or
And that was it was quite an obvious statement.
Yeah, well,
that Phil's better than Jeff. But I digress. That might be a hot might be a hot
People are gonna
take.
at you, yeah.
That's fine. And probably Julie Chen Moonves is better than probably both of them. So who cares? Anyways, I like how she constantly shades CBS with throwing her last name in there, because they fired her husband.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on. So.
It's another show for another time.
Exactly, or probably not another time, but either way.
Yeah.
So what happened? Where do they take their flight to?
L.A.
LA.
I said L.A.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what do they do?
Los Angeles.
Yep.
The Angels.
City
of Angels.
Exactly.
I don't remember the hotel, but they were on the top of a hotel. They had to find a code to unlock basically a mailbox that was locked with a...
with the clue inside.
Yeah, with the clue inside. I'm trying to think. It was one of those numbers, kind of like a bike lock almost. You had to find the 4-number combination. But the clue was just basically it goes up and down, and you'll find your clue. So people were running up and down the stairs, trying to look all over the place, and eventually they went up the stairs and realized that up and down was the elevators on the outside of the building, had the numbers right inside of the elevator. So once you look out of where the box you're at, you see your elevator, you find your number, you open it, you get your clue to your first detour. Roadblock.
There weren't any detours last way, which is interesting too.
Roadblock.
Yeah.
So what was it? Who got it first? I think it was the flight attendants first, Holderness second.
Right, and they were close. Those two were close.
Very close. Ryan and Dusty, about an hour later, I think eventually figured it out. I don't know. It was a long time.
They were way behind. Yep.
They took forever.
And it seems like lately there's been a lot of 2-team races. Mm-hmm. Where within the first 20 minutes of the race, a team's out of it.
Yeah.
In the finale, and then it's a 2-team race. Who's gonna get there? And then sometimes, kind of like the last season or season before, one team actually pulls away from even that, and one team just runs away with it.
Yeah.
In this case, it was at least close
this
between two.
This is a horse race for the most of the end of it, yeah.
For sure.
So the first detour, roadblock.
It wasn't really... was it roadblock?
Yeah. I don't know. The first challenge, we'll call it. They had to go to an area where there were a bunch of piñatas hanging in a courtyard. One person had to be blindfolded with the stick to hit the piñatas, which is dangerous. One person had to stand on under a gazebo, I would say, and direct them on where to go and which piñata to hit, because the person that was reading the clues knew exactly what piñata they had to hit or the type of piñata that they had to hit, but they had to find it and tell them where to hit it. One was a miniature donkey, one was an all-paper star, and then one was a taco.
Yeah.
But there were a bunch of stars, and there were a bunch of all different sized donkeys. So you had to find the right one. Each one held part of their next destination for their clue. So it was street, the number, and the city.
It was the street, the number,
Hollywood.
and it was the street, the number, and those the actual name of the place.
Oh, the place. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Or it was yeah. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was the address, something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's what they had to do. Yep. So it was Kayla was the reader, Raquel was the hitter, and then Penn was the hitter and Kim was the reader. Mm-hmm. And the flight attendants, of course, got it first and left first. Penn and Kim weren't that far behind, though. With that one, they were probably 10, 15 minutes behind. I don't know. It was a little bit behind.
That was their furthest, I think, behind they were the whole time, I feel like.
Yeah, it was.
That was their furthest behind the whole race.
Yeah. So from there, their next challenge was to be Foley artists, which I know I've heard the name before. So when they were describing it, I've seen it, and I've seen videos, of course, online of people doing it. And a Foley artist is someone who makes the noises for, TV, movies, anything to match the sound, because there is no sound when they're actually recording it, because it would drive them crazy. That's what I've just heard that, but they put the sound in later. Yeah. So putting drinks down, bags, all that stuff. So they had to do 5 popular moments from The Amazing Race, and they had to put the sound into that.
Behind the face, it was my donkey's broken.
The watermelon to the face.
Watermelon to the face, which is epic. Yeah.
It was the hay was one they were rolling the hay out.
Hay bales, yeah.
What was that one? Why was that one such a big thing? Was that him him yelling his donkey was broken for that one?
No, that was a different one. But the one they basically went through like dozens of hay bales to find a clue in a haystack. There was a needle in a haystack.
Okay. But yeah, so they had to do that. Someone was there to demonstrate it. They showed him, and I wasn't sure how they were going to do it, if they're going to let them figure it out themselves, but there was a person for each room that showed you exactly what to do to make that noise, but timing was the key. They had to get it exactly on time. And of course, since it's the last episode, I appreciate that they were, pulling hairs on how close you had to be with that one.
The same thing with the drawing the paint too. That was another one that didn't just get it's
right. Yeah, that one was a little bit more. But I mean, most of the things that people miss were, kind of a big thing. You could tell the difference once it was painted on. But yeah, no, for sure. That one, so the girls took a long time to do it. They were there for a while. Penn and Kim got there. I think it was only like 3 tries, because they're so used to doing recordings and everything, and Penn has to do the editing at home, so they kind of know. They got out at pretty much the same time.
They did
because
exact same time.
It was, because the girls had a guy that they asked directions for, and then Penn and Kim ran out and stopped him right away too and asked for directions, and they're mad because they said they should have told him not to help, but it was too late. It's like
he would have anyways.
He probably would have. Yeah, he would have been like, what do you do?
Yeah, you don't have to pick a side.
No, and especially when if they were in the car yelling at the guy like, "Don't help them," I would have been like, I wouldn't have walked away. I probably would have helped them too. Right. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And so the Foley artists, it's something that they do for a living, so they obviously were taking it pretty seriously. They held them, made sure they actually did it right.
Yeah.
And the difference between a Foley and the actual, in this was they had to actually time it up, where a Foley you just make the sound. They edited the sound. They edited it in later, and they matched it up later. But you just create the sound. You don't do it live. It's an actual Foley. But
I know. You said that. I've seen videos of people that do it like that though, that watch it and make the noise as they're watching it to make it match up.
Sure. But you can. That's the beauty of nonlinear editing now.
Yeah.
But back then, even too, back then you had to do it on the spot live, because there wasn't editing. It was it was an actual live show. Back when they had radio, before they had recordable music, they had to bring a band into the station to play the song. So
they're talking about Little Orphan Annie. Be sure to drink your Ovaltine.
Exactly, that kind of stuff. Exactly. So what happened next is, unless there's more for that. That was a cool challenge though too. They had challenge, and but they said they got I think the flight attendants had like 8 tries maybe to do it. And Holders had like
more.
3.
Yeah, they took a long time. It was at least 8 tries. Yeah. But they had a hard time doing it because usually was messing up the same thing, and then I feel like they would start to mess up other things. It just, the transition was really quick in between, so you really had to time, like, are you going to do the one next to you, or are you going to go every other, and like, who is going to do the next task was probably the biggest timing part.
That was it. And a lot of times things just got missed. They make a sound in the right spot or whatever.
And with that challenge, dare I say, we didn't even see Ryan and Dusty do it. So if that gives you a clue on how this is panning out.
And I think they may have quick brushstroked it, but that was it. Yeah.
I mean, they showed him, but we didn't really see them actually doing it very long.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then next, the final challenge.
Yes.
I don't remember the stadium. I know it was the soccer stadium, the Galaxy.
Yeah, it was the Galaxy Play. It's a corporate sponsor.
Yeah.
Stadium.
So they went to that stadium. They were on I guess it was tennis courts there.
Yeah, I guess the tennis courts outside the stadium or on the edge of the stadium.
Outside the stadium there. They were in a tennis court and had to basically match up. It was a description to something they did during the race. So they had to match the coin that they had flipped over. They had to match the candy that came out of the piñata. They had to match the car that they drove in, and up the hill for the goats the donkey, mules, the cheese making thing that everyone knows how to make cheese. Mm-hmm. They had to match everything up exactly to what they did. And basically, ask for a check. The person would yell, was a fault. Yeah, fault. That's right. Fault. I don't watch tennis.
Clearly.
Listen.
But the thing that was cool is they went back to, which I don't think they did it last season. They went back to the cumulative test, which I always like. The cumulative, what was the person wearing at the pit stop? What what city did you go to in order with which flag? All that
You know
stuff.
what that reminds me of? The Mole.
Yeah, that's true.
The show The Mole.
The cumulative test. Yeah, I love it. And that was the cumulative test. They didn't do it for, they usually do that, but for a couple seasons they didn't do it and whatever. And I'm glad they went back to it because I love the final. Here's the whole race. What do you remember?
Right, and luckily, my team, Kim, decided to take notes the entire time and had a good outline of what happened for most of the race. So
Yeah, she said, you have the 12-hour whatever mandatory rest period at the end of the leg. She'd take her notebook and write down everything that happened.
Yeah.
And and that way, even if you don't look at it again, at least writing it down helps.
Right.
And it helped, but both teams messed up a bunch. And
they did, and then when you start to second guess and you don't know what is actually wrong, then you're changing the right answers, and then I'm yelling at the TV like a crazy person.
Yeah.
So just stop doing that.
Right, because both teams had 2 wrong, and then one had 1 wrong, one had 1 wrong, and one had 3 wrong, one had 3 wrong, and then 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 is.
I kept changing. I mean, Penn and Kim only had 1 wrong in the beginning, and then they started adding it more to get to 3, and then back down to 1, and then And in the end, all they needed to change, I think, was the coin.
Yep.
Everything else was right initially. It was just that coin. Just the coin. I mean, it was fine in the end. But watching it, I'm yelling, just leave the coin.
We were freaking out.
Change the coin.
We were both freaking out. It was such a close challenge.
Leave the rest.
It was like one of those things, like, because as soon as you're done with this, it's over.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to run through the tunnel, and that's it. You're done. It's over. So, like.
I would have took out some kneecaps. I would have been shoving people.
Oh, yeah.
I would have left my bags back there, too. I don't care.
Yeah, for sure. That's happened.
Throw everything down so I could run faster. And I am not a runner. So, you drag my ass. I don't care.
That would, that's definitely something that, and then Penn said at one point, so we want to take all the car stuff, stack them up by the car one. And that way we can kind of just swap them out, and all the coin ones by the coin one, then we can just swap them out quicker.
Right. Well, especially because that was the
ones
ones that they weren't sure is the ones that they pulled out and had it right there. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to note that they were all in the shape of tennis rackets. I'm sorry. Don't yell at me.
But they were supposed to, and they had them, instead of having them walking back and forth, they just got them all out.
Because it was a bin of all of them. I mean, every single different option was in there, and it didn't pertain to them. That's why they had to know which one was which for them.
Right. And there was 4 choices for each answer. So it was 40 choices for 10 answers.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what happened?
My team won. They got it.
And they got game, set, match.
And they ran, and I jumped up, and I ran. I didn't. I cried.
Yeah, you jumped up and down.
I did.
Pumped too.
I had to wait. The cat was going crazy. Bailey didn't know what was going on.
Yeah. And they said game, set, match, and then that meant they were correct, and they pointed them into the tunnel, ran through the tunnel. They get there, and Phil had his usual thing, about however long they were there and how many. And he's like, we traveled all over the world. We had all these different challenges. He didn't do his normal thing because it was not a normal season.
Yeah, it
wasn't. But Penn and Kim won their amazing race and the $1 million prize. Kayla and them were finished second. Ryan and Dusty were a distant third.
Oh.
And one thing I think they said too. They said they I feel like it was the second last episode. I think it was Penn and Kim said that they always wanted to get to the finals and not be the one who just stand there clapping at the finals.
Yeah, exactly.
But actually be the one that's running.
But the scary part was how much they kept showing Kayla and Raquel saying how a girl team hasn't won in a while. And the second last episode, I was done. I was mad and they're going to win. That's why I had to cry because I was actually right for once and so happy for them.
Yeah, so
I had already written them off the second last because of all the editing because you got me crazy about editing now, you psychopath.
Yeah. Well, I said, and Ryan and Dusty won, they were dominated early, and then Penn and Kim won 3 or 4. They won 1 and they won 3 in a row.
Yep.
And then Kayla and Raquel won the last 2 before the finals.
Right.
So it was they're peaking at the right time, but it's hard to win 3 or 4 legs in a row, like you said. So.
Yeah, and you have to have certain strengths, and Penn has his superpower of ADHD in some ways and some not ways, but that helped Kim with her notes and everything. They could easily, easily figured it out. And Raquel and Kayla kept getting the piñata candy wrong, and I knew it wasn't that. I knew it wasn't multicolor. For everybody, it was red and yellow, I think, or red and white. So that one, that was their last one that they had to fix, I think.
For sure. Yeah, and they said they were close. One team had 1, one team had 2. It was back. It was one of the closest final, things you're ever gonna see. And Penny and Kim got done.
Yeah, and we never saw Ryan and Dusty do it at all.
No, it was all
It was a little
just
late.
ran through. Yeah. When they ran through, there was fireworks going off. I thought they were gonna shit their pants. I would have. But anyways, so that was how that ended. So let's go ahead and put a bow on it. We'll finish with the final three teams. The final teams who made it to the finish line. Let's start with Ryan and Dusty. Mm-hmm. Why did Ryan and Dusty lose?
Well, once they got knocked out of first, they did not get it back up again. They got knocked down and they got up again, but they didn't get to the first again. So,
right.
Yeah.
No, yeah, they got non-limbed, in the second last, whatever.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Well, but yeah, like you said, I mean, they were a really strong team. They just seemed to peak and they kind of fell off. And
they were still a strong team, but just some of the stuff that they had to do, I wouldn't say was a skill. Like I said, the turning the rocks wasn't a skill. You just had to be able to find it faster than other people and pay attention to where you had looked. It was, I guess, attention to detail, but it wasn't an actual skill.
Yeah.
So like that, that knocked them down, and they were lucky it was a non-limb because of that whole task.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so I would say Ryan and Dusty, they were a really strong team. They peaked early, and then they kind of just never really got back to that same level of dominance as it got lower and as the teams got better. But I will say, usually a team loses if they fight a lot. Mm-hmm. Nobody had that this leg, so it came down to the other thing, which is attention to detail.
Yeah.
And also patience. Two things that Ryan and Dusty lack in spades: patience and attention to detail. Obviously, and hitting the doorknob was an example. And even the rock thing, they were getting so angry and so frustrated. And I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I would have been too. But like attention to detail, staying calm under pressure. They're go when you have to stop and slow down and think for a second. That definitely wasn't their strong suit, and unfortunately,
pick things up, put things down, pick things up, put things down, run.
Right, and they said they were smart about it with a lot of the challenges because they knew the physical challenges they were going to dominate, so they did the physical challenges. But sometimes when there isn't a physical challenge, you want to just push through stuff instead of going around it. Right? It's like what was that new movie with Nicolas Cage, where he plays himself. And he jumps. He's like they're crawling over this giant wall to get over this wall. And they finally get over the wall, and the guy walks around it.
Yep.
That's Ryan Dusty. Like, we gotta go through this wall. We gotta go right through it. And everybody else like, we can just go around.
Right.
Right.
No, we gotta go over the wall.
Yeah, or even through the wall, even better. Right. And they just that's kind of how they, I feel like that's just they had one speed, and that was go, and it was not don't slow down, stop or thing.
It usually was. Yeah.
And and they said that if it was a physical challenge, they dominated. If it wasn't, they struggled a little bit. And they said they were still a really good team. If they would have won, I would not have been sad.
Yeah.
But I was happy with the result.
I mean, I would have been a little sad. I would have been sad if my team didn't win, let's be honest.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been disliking people, but I would have been sad.
I would have been a little disappointed if they won and not the other team had won, but I wouldn't have been like, oh, I didn't like them.
Yeah, I got sick of the macho, let's take our shirt off attitude, the Greek gods, but yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
What's next?
Why, the flight attendants lost.
Yeah, so what did they do wrong, honey?
I mean, it wasn't a lot because they worked well together. Their sense of direction was not great. Neither of them were really good navigators. They were able to overcome obstacles. They lost their map and they were able to overcome that and get directions and still make it to where they needed to be. Yeah. But it's kind of like the other team. It was attention to detail. It's like almost everything, attention to detail. It's okay. It's Selena.
Yeah.
For most of that. I mean, it came down to the end with the matching of what they did throughout the whole thing. So they couldn't remember what they saw or what they had done. Then, it was mostly the attention to detail at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, they were a really solid team. I really liked them. They followed other teams a lot, which was a little bit of their detriment.
They used their resources.
They did. And I said they definitely didn't have the best sense of direction, that kind of thing. But they said they didn't fight. They got along well. I think they just weren't. I don't know. It was really hard to say. I could have easily seen them winning. They almost did win.
Yeah.
They were strong. They were a good team. They worked well together. They had pretty good attention to detail. Not great sense of direction necessarily. And obviously they came down to it and they just got beat in the last challenge. Mm-hmm. That's really what it was. They got there a little bit before Holdernesses, not a lot before, but a little bit before.
Yeah.
and they had a few more minutes to set some things up, and they had a couple guesses in before Holderness got theirs set up. But again, it was one of those things where, again, the memory, the attention to detail, and I don't know how big of fans they are. Holdernesses were big fans of the show as well, like Natalia and Rune, and going into the race, especially if you've seen a lot of it, that they're gonna probably have a cumulative test at the end, and Kim was ready.
Yeah.
And that was, and what did Penn say at the end? Said that the woman with anxiety was the hero of the show. Huge.
Yep.
That was it. Mm-hmm. And that was the bottom line. I think if they let's say Penn and Kim were 25 minutes behind them, and the flight attendants could have got 10, 15 guesses in first before Penn and Kim got there, they win.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
But Penn and Kim were on their tail, and it was very, very close, and it ended up being that one team was a little bit more prepared. That was basically all it was. The difference between them winning and losing was one team was a little more prepared than they were, and you couldn't really blame them.
Yeah.
They just ran into a team who was prepared.
Yeah.
Who was ready.
I don't want to say because they're older and things like that,
that's
but
true,
it is, though, because the mentality of someone that's that age versus the mentality, dare I say, of people our age are completely different. Mm-hmm. So you know how to prepare, you know what to think about, I guess. But, like you said, if they watch the show, they've seen that this happened a lot on a lot of the ending of an episodes or an ending of a season. So, it doesn't hurt to take those notes because you have the time to do that.
Absolutely. Instead of going and relaxing and taking a nap or going to get a beer or whatever, taking a few minutes, downloading everything that you just did, and looking at it again, that before you go to bed, and
then go take a nap and have a beer and relax.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So good. So and again, and them, they probably have a lot of things that they have been through. A lot more life experience. They have things that they would want to. They need to remember. More important things. A mom has more things to remember than a flight. Than a flight attendant. Just saying. A lot more schedules, things to remember. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And and they're also, they know that, hey, this might not be anything, but it could be something, and let's do that. So we're kind of we talk about why Raquel and Kayla lost. We're kind of also going to a little bit why Holdernesses won, but why did Holdernesses win?
Because they're awesome. I win. I mean, because they win, I win. I feel like we can share this win together.
Absolutely. They won't share any of the money with you, but at least you share the glory.
They won because they had good attention to detail. They took notes throughout the entire season. They didn't fight. They reassessed, I want to say, their attitude and their energy to not take it so seriously, which helped them to relax and actually concentrate more, I feel like. Because the more you stress about concentrating, you're not really concentrating, because then you're going to get mad that you're not concentrating when you should be, and yada yada yada. But they had good attention to detail. They worked well together. They had a good sense of direction. They could read a map, which is also kind of a lost thing as well. Sure. They did most things right. They faltered sometimes, but on almost most things, they did it well. So
I'll wrap up with this as well. I mean, Arun and Natalia, in the final challenge, they got pretty far behind because Arun didn't do well with the rowing, and Natalia said, I should have done this one.
Yeah.
I don't think I heard that once from Holderness. That I should have done it.
Yeah, they always picked the right person. Yeah.
Yep. And I can't say they ran a flawless race.
No, they didn't. They had falters.
But 4 wins, and then the final.
Yeah.
Most of any team. More wins than any team, plus the final one, which is the big one.
The only one that matters.
Only one that matters. And by that point, both the teams had already had some win. Like, if you get there and Kayla and Raquel hadn't won one yet, I'm not really going to say them winning the last leg. Right? But they had won 2 in a row. They had the momentum going.
Right.
Ryan and Dusty knew they had fallen off a little bit, but they knew what they were doing. They had won legs.
Right.
I mean, everybody, the final 3 teams were solid teams. And they got along. Obviously, Kim and Penn got along incredibly well.
Yeah.
They had a great attention to detail. The only thing they didn't really do well is they weren't physically fast running, because other teams could have caught up them if it was a foot race.
Right.
But they were a little bit older. They were wise. They did they had a good skill set. They weren't physically necessarily super strong, but they were in good shape. That wasn't a hindrance to them. They had a lot of artsy skills. They had a lot of performance skills. They had a lot of they had a lot of really strong things going for them, I would have been really interested to see if it was the whole, all the 11 teams were there and there was a whole regular race.
If it would have ended the same.
If it would end the same way.
Yeah.
And maybe it would have, maybe it wouldn't have. But for what the position they were put in, they were, I'll say it, the 7 teams left, they were the best team, and it wasn't close.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I would be curious to see what would have happened if everybody was still there. But, I mean, looking back at some of the teams that were there, they were ahead of them most of the time as well. I think there was one leg when they were like 6th maybe. But for the most part, they were in the top 4.
And the only team who would have maybe beat them would have been like Anthony and Spencer.
And I thought about that too, but they also had some struggles with some things too. But for what they were dealt, they did the best.
And they were the best team, I think, and I don't think it was that close really, because I mean, it said Ryan Dusty, they peaked, but then they kind of fell off. Raquel and Kayla, they were good, but they only they won 2 legs in a row, but it wasn't like they were Penn and Kim. And it's one of those things where some of you've seen on the last 3 of the last 4 seasons. I guess you can say 4 of the last 4 because I didn't really watch Colin Christie's original season, but I had heard of them. Mm-hmm. Last 4 seasons, the winner had been in the public eye at least at some point before.
Yeah.
So you had the dancers who did on the social media season. Mm-hmm. You had Colin and Christie. You had James Wallington, who had done his own podcast.
Colin and Christie, what are they from?
They're from the Amazing Race.
Oh,
previously.
okay.
Right? And he was the one who was
he was the dunk. He doesn't worry. Yeah.
And then James Wallington had his own podcast. Was on TV, quote unquote, with that. So, I mean, people who you've seen before, it's very interesting. That's kind of, that's great for the Amazing Race. People with big social media following winning a race and being able to promote themselves through the race to their fans. I mean, that's Amazing Race is doing it well. They've had a good cast again, and I'm really happy for Holdnesses, obviously.
Yeah.
If they want to come on our show, we'll love to have them.
I know. I will do a sing-off. Someone suggested on our podcast that we should do a sing-off. I am totally down for that.
Absolutely.
I am game.
For sure. So, obviously, we'll go ahead and leave there. Obviously, that's why Holdnesses won. They were just the best team, no doubt.
I win. I get an award. What is my award?
I don't know. Something.
The child mentioned a check. And if you get that reference, you are my people.
Exactly. The child mentioned a check.
Yes, the child. I'm pretty sure I heard something about a check.
Exactly. So anyways, let's wrap up here before the season. Any final thoughts? Anything kind of looking ahead? Anything like that?
I'm excited for the next season of The Amazing Race. I can't say I'm excited for the next show that's out. I will probably watch it with you, but I don't know if I'm going to be on the show, perhaps.
Yeah, I kind of talked about that on the other Survivor show.
I need to watch my blood pressure when it comes to that show, so we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I said if something happens, Jessica, I want to wind her up and let her go. Maybe she'll come on.
Maybe an occasional person, but I don't know about regular.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
But I'm looking forward to The Amazing Race. I like watching it. I like seeing the places that they go. I hope they do well with their next casting. It'd be nice to see more people that we know from somewhere. And what I think I like, though, is it's not huge celebrities, though. Right. Like, they're very big and they have a huge following, but, they're not this big actor or actress or anything, not even to that sort. But,
right.
I liked that. Or Spencer and
Anthony.
They're huge, they're big, but it's not something that most people would know unless you were told about it. Yeah. Like, we didn't even realize until they said it.
Right. No, I saw them on the show. I'm like, maybe they look familiar, but I didn't really put 2 and 2 together.
Right.
And obviously with Ryan and Dusty, that him being Ryan being someone who's
I heard that story before. I just would have never knew it was him. Yeah. So
and D'Angelo Williams, one of the biggest people you'll ever see on. He's one of the most famous people you'll see on there. But again, they're not like they're crazy huge, like superstar people.
Yeah.
They're still decently normal.
Right. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully it's a more normal show next time, since COVID seems to be going to the wayside, getting better everywhere. So I'm excited for the next season.
Yeah, more crazy town village scenes.
More bigger tasks, jumping off of things.
Yeah, and in crowded shopping malls.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it at this. Every season we try to talk about what's gonna happen next. Last season we didn't know if and when COVID, with COVID, we heard that they started filming and then shut it down. I knew that going into the season that had happened.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of last season we were talking about it. We said we knew that had happened. I don't know. I don't think they filmed 34 yet because they wanted to, they got through the COVID. Now they're kind of reassessing and they're gonna go back. I hope. Every season I say this, even years ago before the internet, when Survivor would end, I say, "Oh, I wonder if it's gonna be last season of Survivor," and this was 2004. Mm-hmm. And then they say, "We'll show you what Survivor's doing next." Well, yes, there's gonna be another season.
Oh, there's gonna be another season.
Well, that's kind of what we're at now, yeah. But no, but like back when I was a kid, right? I'd be like, I hope there's another season. I hope there's another season. That was a really fun season. And then they say, "We'll show you what Survivor's doing next." I'm like, yes, there's gonna be another one. And now you hear, oh yeah, they've
poor
been
soul.
Right. Well, now you hear they've been renewed for 43 and 44 or whatever. You're like, okay, now you know. It's not gonna be canceled anytime soon now. You kind of have
stop.
No, I'm not quite like that yet. Not there yet. But it's not as good as it used to be.
I just like to poke about it, but really, it's
not as good as it used to be. But that being said, like I said, now you can go online and say, okay, they're starting to film in the spring. It's like, okay, yeah, it makes sense, right? You kind of know what's happening, beforehand. The Amazing Race, I've always said, the ratings have been. They got down to like 4 million at one point, which is still a lot of eyeballs. I don't care. It's less than 2 per person on average, but it's still a lot of eyeballs.
Yeah.
Right. If you get the joke. But the whole thing is, I still think even if you put it on at 1 a.m. on a Sunday, you're gonna get 4 million eyeballs on it. Right. You're gonna get people watching it. So. It's one of those shows that it may not own the time slot, it may not own the day or the night, but it's gonna be consistent. It's gonna be solid. So I always think that in $1 million is well worth if you get 4 million, 6 million people watching every single week, it's worth $1 million and then some, for sure. It's worth it. So
especially if they keep casting like some semi-popular people because their people will start watching it because I guarantee. Probably some of the Holderness family people, like their fans, probably started watching it.
Yep. And Isaiah and them, they had their viral video. Yep. So obviously they come back, but same thing, right? So you get people into it, they start watching, they get hooked, and they watch more seasons.
Right.
I really think they're doing a fantastic job casting. I really think they're doing a good job with a lot of stuff. Obviously, this season there wasn't any U-turns, any and that stuff. It was just
stabs in the back,
right? Or the challenge where they, the knockout challenge type thing they do. Yeah. No, there wasn't any of that stuff. It was very, very old school. But guess what? Maybe Survivor can take a page out of the book. Stop having so much producer interference and just let the players play the game.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Maybe Survivor can take a hint. But other than that, we haven't seen anything about 34. Mm-hmm. We don't know if there necessarily is going to be a 34. I hope there is. I'm always rooting for another season of The Amazing Race. Not always other shows. I'm always rooting for another season of The Amazing Race because it's just fun. It's low key. You don't have to go crazy. It's not. You don't have to break it down with all kinds of strategy. It's just fun. You see cool events. You see cool challenges, and you see some cool people and have fun.
Just see the locations.
It's a fun show.
Yeah.
It's a fun show. It's low stress. It's fun.
I watch people eat moldy cheese, maggot cheese on bread.
Exactly.
And a Slovakia. I practiced my accents as I watch the show.
Exactly, and it's fun. So I hope they have another season. I love it. I love Phil. Phil's got his Toughest Nails show as well. He's fine. He's doing well. They both get that. They both him and Jeff and everybody else get that executive producer money on top of it. So they're fine if they don't need to work again. But it's a fun show, and I hope they do bring it back.
Yeah, I agreed.
I said I like to talk about what's next and what I know is happening next. But again, it's been they haven't done 2. They used to do 2 one every year or twice a year. Like do with Survivor. They stopped doing. They haven't done that in a while. So I hope that.
Sometimes too much of a good thing can turn into a bad thing.
Absolutely.
Like Survivor, for example, do they need to do 2 seasons a year? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Because I don't like when there's stuff that's like kind of a summer show. I know it ends, I think, end of June, but still.
So it ends in mid-May.
Mid-May? Okay. Even then. I don't know. Why? When there's nice weather out, no TV show wants to put new stuff out because people aren't sitting inside watching TV.
That's true.
So it's hard to do that. So,
for sure.
yeah.
But as I said, But the Amazing Race is always, it's one of those things where it's not, it doesn't get the, notoriety. It's not as, even the marketing that some of the other shows get, but it's always there. It's very consistent. It's always fun. It's, and it's been on since like 2001, 2000, whatever. So I hope they keep it going. I hope they enjoy it. I hope they continue to do it. I said I haven't heard anything. I like to try and talk about what I've heard in this section, but I haven't really heard anything. I just hope that they do bring back for another season because we love it. And I know there's a lot of fans out there who really love it.
Agreed. Go Holderness.
Yep, that was
I
awesome.
win.
I wouldn't mind to see another All-Star season. They had an All-Star season a couple of seasons ago, but it was like, different reality people. I wouldn't mind seeing another,
Go Holderness again. I win.
And other than that, I mean, they I said I hope they bring it back because I definitely enjoy it. Anything else to add?
No, I win.
On that note, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. When Jessica does pop up on the Survivor show, you'll hear it. So you can catch her on there. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything, like our Facebook page, facebook.com/PavementRoadProd, Pavement Road Productions on Facebook.
I might be a shtick in the background. I'll have you record, and I'll just start yelling things from the other room.
Those guys are freaking
You're gonna
Survivor.
have to bleep me out, though.
Exactly. That's fine.
It'll be funny.
It's fine.
That'll be the comedic relief to the terribleness.
Exactly. I can't carry the show myself because I'm only half a brain, so I need her to help me. But said, be sure to subscribe, like our Facebook page. You can email the show directly, pavementroadproductions@gmail.com. Share the post, tell your friends. Thanks for being with us all season. We appreciate it. And until next time, safe travels.